We got a last-minute special guest coming on tonight, and he's bringing a buddy with him.
This should be good. It's he's a smoking buddy of mine.
Oh, yeah.
The Bearded Patriot. Billy Painter himself will be live on this broadcast.
Somebody over on X got Billy Painter, the Bearded Patriot, kind of worked up this afternoon. So
was it a loudmouth, fat mouth liar?
Bald face, loudmouth, bald face liar. Welcome to the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast. We are the only live, local, politically conservative, and liberty-minded program in Kootenai County. Is it still okay to say we're conservative? I'm not sure what that even means anymore. And it's like kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. We expose the political power players, politicians, and influencers that make politics in Kootenai County exactly what it is today. And it's not the same today as it was even a good old 4 years ago. We're your hosts, Dan and Dawna Wilson. I'm here to screen your questions and comments. We're imploring you to leave your comments right there in the comment section throughout the program, no matter which platform you're joining us on tonight, whether that's Facebook, YouTube, X, or Instagram. And for those of you listening back on our podcast, remember you can catch us live every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. You're watching us live right now. What we want you to do is share this live feed to your page or profile. A reminder that opinions expressed are ours only and not necessarily that of any of our advertisers, sponsors, affiliates, or guests, because we don't know what Billy Painter is going to say. We don't know. On tonight's program, license plate reader scandal. Norris secretly implemented LPR tech months ago, now wants $24,000 annual budget increase to keep it running without public consent. That puts your privacy at risk. Also, tracking the tracker. Norris's own truck was tracked via LPRs from 2011 to 2020, revealing how unsecure your data is and raising troubling questions about his voting integrity. That and lots more on the program tonight, including the Bureau of Bootlickers. And now here's your host, Dan Wilson.
Good evening, friends. Hey, episode 32 coming right at you. Thanks for joining us wherever you happen to be. Tonight, we are going to be monitoring locally a large 50-plus acre forest fire that is just to the north and east of our present location. To all of our friends in eastern Athol, up in Bonner County, and around Bayview. We are thinking about you. We're going to be monitoring it right here as well, just in case the wind shift and things start coming back our way.
The last update from Coeur d'Alene Press said that Sunset Fire is now at 50 acres. I think it started out at 10 around 3:40 this afternoon. And Wildcat reported level 3 go evacuation orders have been issued for the entirety of Little Blacktail Road and all its tertiary streets. And then there are a level 2 and level 1 that are there for some others. So as we get updates, we'll share those with you if they happen here throughout the program.
Darren, thank you so much for reaching out right before this broadcast to see if there is any help we needed. No, we are very well off right now. We sure thank you for thinking about us and putting the offer out. Prayers are going out with all those right now faced with evacuations. But look, we have our own forest fire going on right here, metaphorically, in Kootenai County and in the region. There is lots going on. But, you know, every time we have lots going on, and today was one of those days where I was up at 4, and it is now, really 7 p.m.?
Really truly.
And I haven't stopped the entire day. And I get hungry. So when I get hungry and I don't have time to make a meal.
I was like, oh, babe, I got you.
You know where I'm going with this.
I'm going to go get you a snack.
Yeah.
I do know where you're going.
I'm going to go with my favorite go-to. I'm glad you were hiding those from me, by the way.
I keep a hidden stash because otherwise they're just gone.
Midday Squares.
We want to thank our affiliate Midday Squares. This is a delicious chocolate snack, chocolate square that satisfies those sweet cravings. What we're going to do is we're going to give you a link for 15% off your entire order when you click that link. And I just put that there in the comment section. And that is a really tasty way to also help support this program and then curb those, just replace the midday square with whatever the other bad habit is that you're doing. You want to keep that waistline in check or trim down here for the, look, summer's not over yet.
It is not.
It's not over yet.
It has just begun.
Yeah. In my opinion, yeah.
Well, whenever I'm not eating a midday square as a go-to nutritious snack, keeping me on program, I like to barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
I barbecue several nights a week, everything from steak to chicken, roast, you name it. And I love a good barbecue. I don't know about you. If you like a good barbecue, I suspect most everybody. Donna, do you like barbecue? You don't really like smoke.
Yeah,
you like my grilling.
Yes. See, sometimes people confuse, like, because something is on a barbecue grill and it's open flame broiled, open flame. Mm-hmm. I love it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the smoker, when it gets too much smoke and the smoke overpowers, then it's not my favorite.
Well, I know that there are those that love barbecue, and then there are those that love a free barbecue. And it seems to me that a couple weeks ago we discussed, and I don't know if you have that photo up here ready to go. A couple weeks ago, we had a discussion about Summit Food Services. That is the company that provides all the meals to the jail at Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. And we talked about the fact that April Lee, you guys are not a stranger to her. She's no stranger to this program, was kind of, I don't know, advocating for Norris, even though she represents the contract for the sheriff's office. Mm-hmm. Anyway, you guys can go back a couple episodes and look at that, April Lee. But we brought this to your attention. Summit Food Service was promoting that they were going to hold a special barbecue for all of the staff at the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, some 300 individuals. We question whether or not that was lawful. Because, you have a government contract and there is stipulations that you can't give gratuities. You can't give kickbacks, freebies to the government when you're in contract with them. And so we posed the question, who's paying for this? Then we heard rumor that the Deputy Sheriff's Association, the FOP, was going to end up hosting the barbecue instead of this Summit Food Service after
they found it out. Oh, so they found a loophole. But we did confirm today that the barbecue absolutely did take place. Oh.
So we're going to be sending out a letter to the Attorney General to ask them the question, is that lawful per Idaho State Code? I don't know about you folks, but I don't like corruption. I don't like people breaking the rules. If you break the rules, you get a ticket. If you break the rules, you face the consequences. And our elected officials absolutely should also be following the very rules that they are entrusted to enforce. So that is the way that we're going to roll this out. Now, in the meantime,
I think they're just so used to doing what they're going to do with nobody paying attention to it, because there's so many things that seem good on the surface, or just like community living, friendly, donut bringing, free barbecue.
Say that again. What do you mean?
They're just used to doing what they do. Some of our elected officials,
yes,
and what goes on at Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, to clarify, they have gotten so used to just doing what they're going to do.
Yeah, nobody holds them accountable for anything.
No, but and what they're banking on and riding the coattails of is they, by and large, I hate that expression. By and large, they have a good and favorable reputation in this town. People take kindly, for the most part, to law enforcement in this town. And I don't believe it was always this way. I think it's been somewhat of a slow roll. And then that Norris administration coming in, but they're capitalizing on the fact that people have that trust in the community. And so they're just doing what they're going to do without accountability.
I talked to another elected official here recently, and they've been looking at some of the budget line items and asking questions. I think that people are starting to catch on with the very questions that I was asking over a year ago, when before Doge, before Elon Musk, I'm on the record for stating that the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office must have a forensic audit of all of its books and equipment from the very bottom to the top. And we need to find out where all the money's been going, what people have been doing with it, what is being wasted, what needs to be reallocated, so on and so forth. We're looking at over $50 million this year in budgets. But yes, to your point, the sheriff has basically turned Kootenai County Sheriff's Office into a pay-to-play. We talk about this all the time. We bring the receipts. You may not like that, Doreen. You may not like that, Catherine, and all the other sycophants, but you can't change the facts. Now, talking about Kootenai County and their service to this community, because there are great deputies. Don't get me wrong. I would have loved to have led the men and women. I think that we could have done some great things under a Dan Wilson administration, but alas, that didn't happen. Our current sheriff retired from disability out of California, and he makes over over 80, almost 90,000 now.
It's probably
$190,000 from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office from where he retired. He claims that it's from 12 and 13% shoulder injuries, but he is on a disability retirement. And that is, from my understanding, 50% tax deferred. And that doesn't include his $140,000 salary right here in Kootenai County. Now, when you are told that you can no longer work and you get a disability, generally there are work restrictions. Now, I find it funny that you have a 30-year career law enforcement deputy that relocated up here. He's on a disability retirement. I hope you got my picture. I've been giving you cues.
Just talking to our guests that are coming up here in a minute.
Anyway.
So I'm going to give you this photo.
But here we have,
after I remove this other photo.
That's the wrong one.
It's you give one, you got to remove the
other
other one.
So Bob Norris, the current sheriff on disability, is actively still participating in patrol functions. Now, this picture here, we're going to show you more of these here coming up very shortly, but here's Sheriff Norris just a few days ago conducting a traffic stop. And you'll be surprised who took these photos and where this traffic stop took place. I think that you may find it very fascinating.
Are they so understaffed that he's got to do traffic stops?
Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But in the meantime, we've been following a case since last year. The ups and the downs, and it looked like it was never going to go anywhere. We're going to start our first video of the night. Now, look, folks. I'm not a video genius by any stretch. We have been trying all sorts of things here at the Liberty Without Compromise broadcast. So I'm trying a new format tonight. We'll see if it works. We're going to play this video coming up because I want to show you guys the recent development on the Pennie Collinson case. Now, if you got that video up there, Donna, I'm going to go ahead and start talking through this thing here. All right, so what you're looking at right here, right now, is I-Courts. This is the official filing. Pennie and Collinson, of course, filed a tort claim against Sheriff Norris last year over defamation, over heinous sexual things that he allegedly said to her while at a campaign town hall in Cataldo early spring of 2024. She filed a tort lawsuit against the county, and the county declined her tort. Collinson eventually filed a lawsuit. That lawsuit was dismissed a few months ago due to some technicalities after it was delayed over and over again due to Kootenai County judges not wanting to hear the case and recusing themselves. It finally went to a judge up in the neighboring county, Bonner County, and the judge dismissed it, said, hey, technicality, but I'd be more than happy to let you refile it with the correct bonds and timing. That took place. Now, that video, I don't know if did we just take it down?
Just for a second.
All right. That video shows that Bob Norris was served. So I'm going to go ahead and play this through here. Are you playing it or am I? There we go.
I'm not doing anything.
I don't even know what I'm doing. All right. So right there, he accepted the service just a few short days ago on the 11th. Now, once you know, the next video that you see is Sheriff Norris that we just teased a few seconds earlier with, and he initiated a traffic stop here just a few short days ago. And when he stopped the car, and the car that he stopped basically blocked in the person that took these photos. The person that took these photos is none other than Pennie Collinson. Now, what is the chances of this? I've had people say it wasn't by accident. Now, I conducted many traffic stops over my time as a reserve police officer. And I can tell you that whenever you initiate a traffic stop, all bets are off. Brad, you can tell me whether or not you agree with this, and my other law enforcement friends. When you initiate a stop, how often do people actually pull over where you want them to? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this person...
How could you really orchestrate that?
Yeah, but it is interesting. So we'll show some of those shots of him. We'll go back to the video. So you have Norris. This is being taken from Collinson's vehicle. This was not given to me by Collinson, but through a third party. Couple things to notice. So Norris does not appear in this traffic stop. There's his vehicle.
Some people think that's a personalized plate.
Yeah, it's got a K. It's got a K in front of it. Which means Kootenai.
I think it's happenstance.
Okay, so a couple things to note. Where is Norris's Kevlar vest? Now, per policy, if you're going to be performing patrol functions, and we know the traffic stops are one of the most dangerous things that a police officer or deputy can participate in. What is he doing stopping traffic without a vest on? I guess maybe the policies are only for his deputies and not himself. Kind of interesting there, though, to look through and see exactly.
I don't understand why. Sorry, I know I'm talking. I don't understand why he's doing traffic stops.
Well, we hear traffic stop stories about Norris quite often.
We do. Yeah, we do.
We've been in cigar lounges, and people have come up and said, "Hey, I was driving on Prairie last night, and Norris stopped me." And
we're like, are you sure it was Norris? Or, I mean, like if it says deputy, that doesn't mean it was Norris. No, it was Norris.
Mm-hmm. So for whatever reason, he likes to stop vehicles. But again, is that not a patrol function, which you technically should be prohibited from participating in? And oh, by the way, he's not post certified in Idaho. So the post right here in Idaho has confirmed that Bob is not post certified. Now, there's a technicality because he's an elected sheriff, so he can technically do these things. I would have been post certified. I still was within the parameters, but it's curious to me how often the guy is performing patrol duties while on this disability retirement.
Yep.
So. Anyway, looks like we've got some guests coming on here pretty shortly.
We do. I think if you're ready, we can bring them up.
Why don't you, before we bring them on, let's give us a little bit of, let's see. Brad asked real quick, are you sure it's not under his shirt, meaning his Kevlar vest? Well, I mean.
He was kind of fluffy looking.
No comment, Brad. You and I can talk offline about that. All right, tell us about our guest and why we're bringing this guest on so quickly. Was not planned, but at the last minute.
I'll do my best. We've got the bearded Patriots, Billy Painter, and then his buddy Shane. Pretty active over on X. They've been liberty-loving, liberty-minded, loud voices.
Interviewed me during the campaign.
Interviewed you, who at certain points in the campaign you were not the popular choice, and these guys said that's not what we're about. So they probably even brought you on a couple of times. So they're active over on X, and this is where I want to make sure I'm getting my facts correct. So we'll bring them up sooner than later here. But they got into a toe-to-toe with none other than a gal named Lauren Walker.
Yep.
And she is Rogue Lou.
We talked about Rogue Lou 18 just a few weeks ago.
Not too long ago.
The bald-faced, fat-mouthed liar.
Part of the Bureau of Bootlickers segment. So Dan and I have been aware of Lauren Walker and her loudmouth, and that she seems to have been commissioned by a power greater than her, whether it's funded with dark money or whatever it is. We're not here to say we're bringing facts about that and the facts and evidence, but I mean, you follow the trail. And she's on social media, what seems to be like all day long. Pushing the agenda of certain state representatives and elected officials, and getting up into the business of a lot of people as a change agent. I don't know how else to define her other than she has been sent as a change agent. And she is one of these wants to believe she's an influential person, but riding on the coattails of other people with power, influence, and money, and has been tasked to do a job, and that is what she's doing.
When you listen to her speak live or on a recording, she's nowhere as articulate as when she's posting, which has always kind of made me wonder if she's actually writing everything that she puts out, because she's not a very articulate speaker.
No.
So let's bring on these friends of ours.
All right.
Gentlemen, Billy and Shane, how are you?
Hey,
Doing
Dan,
great.
thanks
How
for
you
having
doing?
me.
Outstanding. So, Billy, give us a 30-second spiel of who you are and introduce Shane. I haven't had the chance to meet Shane yet.
All right. So, yeah, Shane and I, we're both from the Magic Valley, Twin Falls. Of course, I founded the organization, the Bearded Patriots, which is just we're just a small group of podcasters or influencers that are basically freedom loving, and we also love to expose evil. And there's a few, like I said, there's less than 10 of us, and we're kind of scattered out throughout the country. And of course, I host the podcast Patriot Confederation. Shane, of course, is somebody I met when Ammon Bundy came and gave a speech in Twin Falls. And then Shane also put on an event in 2022 called the Shane, help me a second here. What was it called in the fall?
Oh, what do you have to do that to me for? It was my event, and I'm not sure I can spatter it off at the last moment. It was more or less what I was looking to do was get together all of our representatives that are true liberty-minded folks in the Twin Falls area and let the public come and meet them and give them a stage to talk at. So Bad Boy Billy showed up and was looking for a place to plug in, and I recognized that he was trying to do a podcast there, and I said, oh, let's put you front and center here and get you set up and bring you power, and we hit it off really well. But obviously we have something in common. We're trying to make a change, and we're trying to get rid of the rhinos, and we're trying to get good liberty-minded folks that are going to honor the citizens and the Constitution the way that they should.
Awesome.
So you're trying to get rid of rhinos. So you have a get rid of rhinos group, and then that somehow leads to a connection with Lauren Walker. So talk to me about that and what went down today, Billy.
Okay, so we have to start with yesterday when all this went down, when I stepped in a big pile of manure that, and I think it was up to my waist. It was pretty bad. But, about within 24 hours ago exactly, Rhino Removal Project started a live stream on X, and I decided to listen. And, I was vaguely familiar with Lauren because she's the Idaho representative for the chapter of Rhino Removal Project, and of course, the only bad thing I knew about Dan was her situation with you when I caught the video when you called her the bald-faced liar and all that, and I knew something was up, but it's like I got to keep my cool about this. I can't get involved just yet if I need to, but I had no idea how vile a person she really is. So I'm listening to this stream that was played last night, and we're talking about our representatives here in Idaho. And of course, we're going off on Brad Little, and we're going off on Scott Bedke. We're talking about corrupt organizations like IACI and Micron. And I'll tell you, last May at 2024 here in the Magic Valley, we cleaned house here in this area during the primary election. I mean, we were, Santa Claus came in May. Let's just say that. Now, Shane was unfortunately one of the unlucky ones that was running. I could not vote for him because he was not on my ballot in my district. Otherwise, I would have. So there's my excuse for not voting for you. Yes, but we had Senator Josh Cole, our now Senator Josh Cole, by the way, who is the youngest senator to ever be elected in the state of Idaho at the age of 28. He was going up against Linda Hartgen, who, I mean, you meet her face to face. She's a nice lady. She'll help you in the grocery store, give you advice, whatever. She's very friendly. I'll give her that. But her voting record is horrendous. And we voted her out and brought in Josh Cole, and he is doing phenomenal. Phenomenal. You know, we also had Greg Lanting and one other that I can't remember the other one we ran out. And we brought in Clint Hostetler and David Levitt. And them side by side with Senator Glenita Zeiderveld. They have just done a phenomenal job here in the Magic Valley. They're keeping their constituents happy. But when you know how it goes, you keep the constituents happy, you're making Governor Little and everybody else angry out there. So things aren't happening. Plus, you know, Senator Zeiderveld was asked to endorse. Now his name just escaped my head, and I've been hearing it all day. Imagine that.
So Billy, you guys you're in this X space, it sounds like yesterday, and you were simply jumped in because the conversation, it sounds like, was statewide, not necessarily local to one of the hosts, Lauren Walker, who she was naming off some of the, basically who she was promoting as elected officials. You like innocently jump into the conversation to say, hey, I want to add these to the list. What happens after that? Because I think it was at that point it goes in a direction that you didn't expect, not really knowing, okay, I know who Lauren Walker is, but now there's an operation underway. And I think at that moment, your eyes started to open. So she's, I don't know if she shuts you down when the thing's live. She starts messaging you. Where does it go from there?
Okay, so I jump in, I raise my hand, and I say, hey, we got to recognize Senator Zeiderveld and Senator Cole. And all that, and they let me go uninterrupted. And then I said I was done. And then Lauren comes in and says, okay, I got a caveat for you. And she basically starts downgrading the Idaho Freedom Foundation, which I am a fan of. And I recommend people use it. I mean, and I don't expect everybody to like them. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But, you know, she starts downgrading the Idaho Freedom Foundation and then tries to she says, oh, yeah, your group, what do they call them? The Gang of Eight, which is the four I mentioned, plus four others that are doing really well for Idaho. You know, they're voting really well, but they're not bowing down to God. Shane, help me out. What was his name? And I can't believe it's
not Lenny.
Mike Moyle.
Mike Moyle.
Moyle. Speaker.
Okay, so see, and Senator Zeiderveld was asked to endorse Mike Moyle, and she refused to, and she decided to leave the Idaho Freedom Caucus. You know, so basically, and I'm finding out too that Lauren she rubs elbows all the time with Mike Moyle. In fact, we'll get to something else here in a minute that's just gonna blow your mind. But yeah,
lay it on us, because we can't wait to hear.
Okay, so yeah, she also went on to say that our Gang of Eight and the four that I've mentioned are endorsed by YAL, and I don't have a problem with YAL.
That's the Young Americans for Liberty?
Young Americans for Liberty.
Okay.
Yeah, and start saying, well, they want to legalize marijuana, is like she's got a problem with that, and I really don't care. So, you know, I am a libertarian in that aspect. I do not care.
And that back and forth was still happening while that X space was live yesterday?
Yes, it was. Well, I didn't even argue. I was silenced by then, or muted anyway.
Okay, that makes sense. So they eventually wrap that up, and then you start getting DMs from her, which then really raises some red flags.
She sends me DMs that are about Mike Moyle and whatnot, and tells me I need to choose a side in this fight. I'm being pushed to the wall and told I need to choose a side, and I don't stomach that very well. I let it go for a few minutes. I gave Shane a call and I said, this is what's happening. You know, I was just on the space. I gave him story. He's got stories of his own that I'll let him share. And then I started doing more digging and I found out Stop Idaho Rhinos has a problem with her, and they no longer want to work with her. She's attacked the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance. Then I've seen her posts on X, and they are just vile and ugly and not worth repeating.
And I think it was at that moment when you started looking back historically at some of her texts that you realized, okay, she's also had it out for Dan Wilson, who you guys have been friends and supporters of each other.
Yes, exactly. So I added that in the mix, and went back to your podcast from that time. I didn't just go to the clip. I wanted to hear, I went to the entire podcast to listen. And then I listened to Shane's podcast that he had with the man from the Second Amendment Alliance, Craig Pruitt, his name. And I sent her a message back and I said, look, you're giving me the creeps. I don't trust you. This is all wrong. I just think it's better if we don't correspond. And I blocked her.
Talk to me. She's infiltrated a lot of groups. Again, I believe a change agent. Why do you think, because she's got her hands in so many pots, why do you think that there seem to be so many people that lack discernment? For you, the red flag, it was immediate. I mean, you put it into words, hey, you give me the creeps. You kind of knew better. Why do you think that we are in a society that largely lacks discernment to understand that what an operative like this is doing?
I think it's the way she might compose herself. Then again, I think I'm more in tune than some people, I picked up on her snarky tone of voice. And then the fact that she says she enjoys being a bully. Now, you get my handle right there, Bad Billy. I kind of go on the role of being the antagonist sometimes, but she goes on by being a bully and calling people names.
She's an outright liar. That's my problem. My experience for the past year when I first started interacting with her on social media is that she's a flat out double-faced liar on a consistent basis. And it makes no sense. What doesn't make sense to me in Idaho politics, and Shane, I want to hear your side of this just coming up. I just don't understand. There are so many folks in this state that claim that they love liberty and that they're conservative and so on and so forth, but their motives, though, and I'm talking about people that will claim that they're super, super right-wing conservative. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, you guys are actually rhinos, because part of being conservative means that there are certain things that you do not allow. One is integrity. You don't allow your integrity to be soiled. You don't lie, and you don't try to control others as some starters. So Shane, tell us about your experience.
Yeah. So my insight on this, I started following a whole bunch of people on X quite a while ago, and Lauren and Brandy were both a couple of them that, they look to be a conservative. And so I was following them, and, I think they get the popularity by being disruptive. It's after COVID, everybody dug in. We've got our side, you've got your side, and we're all going to just battle it out. And so I think they rose to popularity by being but of course she calls herself the snarky vet. And so first of all, she comes out as a vet. So that's going to grab some people's attention. Oh, it's a vet. I want to hear what she has to say. And snarky, that can be fun because we have all of this going on. And she appears to be conservative. And I think these two really enjoy attention and being in the limelight. And that's what they're in it for, not for the right reasons. That's my opinion for what it is. But what happened, they had aligned themselves with Heather Scott. They had aligned themselves with a lot of the liberty-minded folks. They
Brian
were really
Lenny.
championing these, pardon me. Yeah. Brian Lenny championing the conservatives.
Tammy
and then
Nichols,
there was,
her too.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say,
Tammy Nichols, Dorothy Moon. I mean, just go right down the line. But then we saw the controversy within the liberty movement itself. This all started back with really two items that happened. The first being there was the raise that our legislator there was a raise that was presented that they should get. the legislator, they took a look at it. Heather Scott really wanted it. There was a private conversation that was recorded and played, which I can't even play because it'd be illegal to do so. A third party happened to record it. Yeah. But in that conversation, I've listened to parts of it online where I could find it. You have Heather Scott saying that she's not even sure if she can run again if she doesn't get this raise. She needs more money, on and on and on. And from what I understand behind the scenes, you have Mike Moyle over here saying, hey, come over here, kiss the ring. We'll get you that raise. And he was going for like a 40-something% raise, and it ended up being 24%, 23%, something like that they ended up getting. But the divide started when you have this what so-called Gang of Eight legislators that said, taxpayers are already paying enough right now. People are suffering. We shouldn't be giving ourselves a raise right now. They can't vote themselves a raise, but they can decide not to accept it. And they took the position of we're not going to accept the raise. Fast forward a little bit, and then you have Mike Moyle, who has a terrible score. I think he gets like a 60% through Idaho Freedom Foundation on his spending and on his Freedom Index. And Gal was going to come out with some ads that were outing Mike Moyle for who he really is, the rhino that he is. And it's suddenly you see a letter that came up, and I've actually got it here. I can read who it was that was in that. It was signed by, let's see, so I can just give you the exacts. Scott Herndon, Heather Scott, Ben Tews, Joe Alfieri, Elaine Price, Tammy Nichols, Carl Bajorki, Phil Hart, Dale Hawkins, Josh Tanner, Tina Lambert, Brian Lenny, and Chris Trakel, saying basically, y'all, if you guys run forward with this and you knock Moyle, we're not going to support you anymore. And it was a formal letter signed by these folks. And the Gang of Eight said, we're not signing that. And Yal has been instrumental in the funding that they gave in helping these liberty-minded folks get elected, many of those who had signed that letter. But their position on all of this was, well, Mike Moyle is offering us a seat at the table if we kiss his ring. And we're going to get some positions, some of these chair seats that we really need. And so we think it'd be in our best interest if we don't knock him, if we just kind of buddy up next to him. And the problem being is that he has a terrible score. And they were scared that if they didn't get Mike Moyle in, that they'd get somebody worse. Well, the person that they thought they were going to get ended up not getting voted in to begin with. So they just didn't have the faith that we could really, that God was going to put his person in there. And so this caused a stark divide, and everybody chose sides. Well, Lauren and Brandy chose the side of the Mike Moyle, who they've got pictures out there at his place fishing.
I saw those.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Heather Scott has become, really friendly to him. And they basically, I think, this is the rumor mill. So I just want to be clear. This is not, it's reliable sources, but I don't have evidence. So I'm going to have to say allegedly. There's even some Moyle's just feeding them what to say, and Heather Scott's feeding them what to say. Oh, here's some information that's going to make them look bad. Let's get these 8 people out of there because they don't vote along with us. But the terrible part about this is the people who signed that letter typically vote well. They vote the way that we need them to in Idaho. The people the Gang of Eight, they are the top 8 legislator on the Idaho Freedom Foundation's score. So Glenita is the number 1, I think, on there. And I had that one up too. So Glenita, Zeiderfeld, Christy Zito, Lucas Kaler, Josh Cole, Kent Marmon, Clint Hostetler, Faye Thompson, David Levitt, they're all your top folks. And so it's sad to see this infighting, but seeing somebody over here, Lauren and Brandy, that could be doing good. They are playing access politics. They want to have their access to Mike Moyle and this inside information because they get to be the first people to bring it out. Mm-hmm. And they will attack, like viciously attack in the most disgusting manner anybody who threatens that access.
Brandy's very interesting. She lives not too far from us. We pass her place quite often in our route to go down south. I call her her nickname, if you guys want to use this, feel free, is 70 proof, Brandy 70 proof, because she's not quite up to the 80 and 90 proof and 100 proof that I personally like. So
she's not top shelf.
Not top shelf. But anyway, guys, look, I really appreciate you guys coming on and giving us kind of this heads up. We're going to have this conversation again. I hope you guys will come back and join us. Really, the problem that I have observed, having come from Spokane, Washington, right next door, from the evil state of Washington, because we're so far from, 20 miles from Coeur d'Alene. I came in here a couple of years ago when I ran with a complete clean slate of not knowing really who any of the players were. And it was actually a great benefit. And just because somebody calls themselves a conservative, just because they call themselves liberty-minded, whatever, I have zero opinion until I hear them running their mouths. And I am absolutely, I'll tell you that when I ran, everybody knew that I started out as a Republican. The KCRCC under Brent Reagan screwed me, and I went independent. And, the whole time I campaigned, I was like the plague. Most of those people that you rattled off, those names from up here, except for the exception of Ron Mendive. And Joe Aliferi met with me one time. But everybody else, they would not be publicly seen with me. In fact, I was in a private meeting with Heather, and they made it very clear, you're not one of us anymore. You're a liberty-minded dude. You align with us. You just don't have the R behind your name right now, and we can't touch you. And I was so utterly disgusted that I have been so disillusioned with most of the people that claim that they're conservative. I've been watching their behaviors, like Phil Hart. Phil Hart, stole timber and has never paid that tax back. So anyway, I look forward to you folks telling us more as you are hearing things. Shane, I'm glad to meet you. I've never met you before. Thank you for taking the time to come on our show. But it's about time for some sticks. Yeah.
Robert, real quick too, you wanted to hear the juicy details that I've been fed, and I'll just tell you really quick now. There's a rumor that there's sexual relations between Lauren and Mike Moyle. Well, it is that which I just said. It is a rumor. It is not true. The shocking thing is the one who started the rumor. And
let me guess. Who? Okay, tell me.
Lauren herself starts a rumor about herself so she can get extra attention.
Wait. Okay, so I have to ask, how do you know that? This is what you're saying. How do you know that?
Opinions expressed here are not necessarily that of a...
Exactly. Yeah, no, I get that. Because I got that from a very reliable source of somebody I know would not lie to me, who unfortunately was at the Heterosexual Awesomeness Fest with her, and he was out on the deck having one of those sticks as you was talking about. He was enjoying a good cigar, and she was in the bedroom talking with the window wide open with Brandy, and they talked about this plot that they got going.
Wow.
Well, that's interesting. Again, folks, that's rumor.
As Idaho terms.
Rumor. So we can't vouch for that. But Billy, thanks for sharing with us. Shane, thank you. Guys, I hope you nothing but the best and your families, and stay strong, courageous, liberty without compromise.
All right. We'll talk to you guys again soon.
Guys.
Hey, thanks. Thank you so much, Dan.
I always like talking with Billy and Shane. I've never met Shane, so
I feel like it just needs some of that.
Here's what I love about Billy.
As Idaho and Kootenai County term.
Billy has one of the biggest hearts in the world.
Yes.
I mean, he has been nothing but kind to us. And folks, remember, liberty without compromise means that you talk with all sorts of people. And I don't mean to make that sound like that I'm talking to Billy because, for
that he's off.
Not at all. Just be clear, Billy. But look, he mentioned names in there of people that I've been having public spats with, people that they like and they think are very conservative, and I've had
well, and I think the web of these people and the things that are interconnected, it's so complex that it really requires people figuring things out and realizing who these players are and doing that from different angles. These guys are in different places in Idaho
Different
than we
experiences.
are. They know and have friendships and have worked with and been on committees with people and again, other parts of Idaho or closer to the capital.
Yeah.
And they're
they mentioned
figuring this out.
Young Americans for Liberty. I've heard all sorts of things about them. I've never met them. I haven't personally observed what they've done. But I can tell you guys like Brian Lenny, I've had knockout drag out arguments with him on Twitter. And I think that he's a pompous ass. I think he's got a little short man syndrome, but he could be a good legislator.
And suddenly everybody's smoking cigars.
He could be a good legislator. Heather, I think she's a nice person. I've never thought that Heather wasn't a nice person, but I'm disgusted by some of the things that I see coming out of these legislators, and most of them in Kootenai County, they kiss the ring of the KCRCC. Let's be absolutely clear on that. And if they've been in office for more than a couple terms, they need to go. We don't want you guys to be their career. Heather, I like you, but you need to go. You've been there too long. We need to have fresh blood in there. So anyway.
Well, you're learning this is a common theme that you kiss a ring. You got to be in the power seat. For those of you who have joined us since we said this near the beginning of the program, we would love for you to share this feed to your page or profile right now while we're live. And you can also join in on the conversation when you have questions or you want to give some pushback, whatever it is. Do that right there in the comment section on whichever platform you're watching. And still coming up, I don't know if we finished talking about Norris's traffic stop. We've got he's been served again in the again in the Pennie
he
Collinson
received
case.
service,
which
means now he officially knows that he has been sued.
We're going to talk more about the automatic license plate readers because that has been a hot topic here.
We're not going to let it go.
We're not letting it go. I had some conversations today with a friend. There's other people meeting to say, look, if they're voting on this in 2 weeks, what can we do with this between now and then? Because a lot of you are just waking up. Yeah. You're just waking up, and I'm seeing the chatter on the local Facebook groups.
Now, where else are you going to find any kind of a show like ours, Liberty Without Compromise, that is going to have a extremely right-wing, patriotic guy like Billy? Again, I don't know Shane, so I don't want to give him any kind of... I assume that they run together. They're equally conservative.
It's an enjoyable, informative conversation. We appreciate that.
So on one hand, I'll have those guys on our show, and on the other side, I have guys like Dan Gookin. And I'm not implying that Dan's not conservative either. I just want to be very clear here for those of you asses that get really spun up. How dare I talk to all sorts of different people, and how dare I have relationships with all sorts of people as we all are together to, manage our country. Speaking of Dan Gookin, we had him on a couple weeks ago. He's running for Coeur d'Alene mayor, and I am very happy to report that Woody McEvers, who is the current mayor of Coeur d'Alene, is going to join us this coming Wednesday.
All right.
So next
a week from
tonight, I believe that is the 20th, Woody is going to come on our show just like Dan Gookin, and it's going to be a time for him to share what his vision is and what his campaign is about. And I urge you, ask your questions respectfully. Don't send them on social media, though, please. There's no way for us to aggregate them off of all the different DMs and stuff. So if you have a question...
I try.
Well, but I miss them because you and I run different pages.
And look, there's been growth in the Liberty Without Compromise movement. There's been growth in who's following the broadcast. We are simulcasting to many different networks. And so, a lot of times those questions, and especially when they're buried in comment threads, we don't necessarily see them. So
where can they send their questions to?
The absolute best way to keep this orderly is info@libertywithoutcompromise.com, or you can go to the website on the contact page. There's a form, fill it out, click submit. We'll definitely get those, and that'll allow us to better organize. And again, that was for this next episode, next Wednesday, or this coming Wednesday. And questions for the mayor.
Woody McEvers.
Just repeating it.
Woody McEvers. All right.
Since I was yapping.
Let's move this thing along. Let's get right back on track. Now, we've been talking about the LPRs. That is these automatic license plate recognition systems. and they're putting them all over. They're putting them on patrol cars. I got a video up here we're going to start playing. While that video is playing, we've already gone longer than I thought. I'm going to have to plug in my computer. So you can start playing this video back. Yeah, you're going to want to play it back from the traffic stop.
Oh, maybe I'm on the wrong video.
Yeah, this is our very first one. We're going to go ahead and back that one up just a little bit.
Okay.
That is the correct video.
Okay. Do you need to get your plug that in? Because now I'm all antsy about you.
Nah, I've got time.
In.
Go ahead. We'll
You're
do
all
it when the
good?
time is right.
Okay. I don't know why it's needle dropping there.
All right, right there. Again, Norris is conducting his traffic stop. We're going to roll right in to his favorite topic, which involves patrol cars, and that's the license plate readers. Now, what do we have right here? We have information that was given to us through Mike Bauer. Captain Mike Bauer ran against Bob Norris in 2020, and at the time, he was associated with Kim Edmondson, who was a captain with the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office that ran for sheriff as well. She was not successful. Her campaign manager, as I have been told, is a former Southern California police officer, a detective named Steve Rowland. Steve Rowland pulled this data to prove originally that Bob Norris was double dipping on his residency.
Gotcha.
In fact, if you want to go, we're going to show here in a little while in the video, but the Idaho Report, the IdahoReport.com talks about this. And so the reason that we obtained what we're going to show you now, which is images of Bob Norris's personal vehicle over the span of, close to 10 years, as it's located by LPRs in California and in Idaho. Originally, it was obtained by Steve Rowland for Edmondson's campaign against Norris in 2020. Ben Wolfinger, then sheriff, actually spoke about this because they wanted to catch Norris in the lie, which is claiming that he had a homeowner exemption up here in Idaho, but he was actually living and voting in California. So
so it's like, the guy is lying, and you just need to go find something evidence to support that.
From the beginning, LPRs are not secure. You do not want your law enforcement to have access to these LPRs. Everything that they're saying as to why they need them, there are studies to debunk that. And we're going to talk about that a little more, but let's go and look at the over 50 times that Bob Norris's vehicles, with two separate plates, but they are the same vehicle, were photographed not only in California, but in Coeur d'Alene. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video. We'll see them scroll through. I assume that it's scrolling. I don't know. It's not playing. Oh, there we go. You can see right there that both these vehicles have the same sticker, but these are all the times that Norris's personal vehicle was captured on LPRs in California. Now, for those of you that can't see it, they're given exact locations for where these cameras were.
Are they all from LPRs or other types of cameras as well?
These all appear to be LPRs. So we'll skim through these here for just a short little while. There's a lot of data here, a lot of data. And these are different areas that he was located. Long Beach, Anaheim. Now, you'll see the columns on the right that talk about the red. Here, he's changed his plate to this 997 here. They first captured his vehicle back in August 29th of 2011. He did change the license plate at some point. I'm going to guess the 997 would indicate that might have been his badge number or his call sign when he was in Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. We're almost done here. But again, folks, this should concern you because this technology, this stuff that was captured is now going on 15 years ago.
And to think, we've got technology advancing what seems like by the day. What you're showing us now is data that was captured, like you just said,
in 2020.
Yeah. And then all as far back as to
almost 6 years
captured
ago.
In 2020, but some things as far back as 2011.
This was all legally obtained.
Yes.
So the question is how does LPRs that are run by the government, how are they able to as a private citizen, a private entity, how are they able to get this intel? But Norris has told us, hey, it's secure. Even though he wasn't running the LPRs with the public's knowledge for many months, without any policies, without any retention procedures, anything, he wants us to trust him that these LPRs on 50 vehicles now, because it's grown to 50, is somehow going to keep us safe. He claims officer safety. You don't care about officer safety when Duncan and Eberline commissioners said, hey, we're not going to fund this. He says, you don't care about officer safety. But you know what? I looked. I had my team look. My team of highly qualified, retired law enforcement, not even just Mike Bauer, but others that I worked with here locally. Nobody can find a study that ever claims that these LPRs offer any kind of officer safety. It just doesn't. What is officer safety? Officer safety is achieved by training, by your personal equipment, by your environment, by your mindset. That's my experience. LPRs are a tool, but Bob Norris is promoting propaganda when he claims that this LPR stuff is going to save a deputy's life. Let's go ahead and keep playing that video. We've got some actual real video from the county commissioners that we're going to show here. You guys get the idea.
For those of you listening back on our podcast, we're looking at some visuals right now. You can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's at the Idaho Sheriff. You'll be able to watch those live streams and catch up on some of what we're displaying here on the screen.
And we are just trying this new format with the videos over the PDF slides. So for whatever reason, just to let you know, I am trying to drag this along faster, but every time I try to drag it,
seems like it's repeating stuff.
It goes back. No, I mean, this is how much data. This is over 50 different locations.
That actually, that's
we're
important
almost
to know.
To the done.
Because it kind of gives the appearance that we're just seeing the same slide over and over again. But what's actually happening here is
these were each location that Norris's personal vehicle with Kootenai County license plates were located not only in California, the greater LA area, but also in Kootenai County.
And it's important for two things. It kind of seems like he wasn't residing, and people say, well, somebody else could have been driving his truck. We understand all these things, but seen in both places. So
he admitted eventually that he was living down there when he got caught, after he got caught.
And he gave a heartwarming reason as to why.
Real quick. This last thing, it basically shows a score on the color codes. Of green being where are you most likely to frequent? The yellows are possible, and the red is least likely. So maybe you're on a trip and you take a road that you've never taken before, and it's photographed one time. But the yellows and the greens means that you have been photographed more and more often with that data. Now, why does this matter? Well, I have told you guys that Motorola, which owns Vigilant Software, that is the software that consolidates all that data from the images captured through the LPR cameras. Well, all of that stuff eventually is used in their own words, Motorola says that they can use it to predict where you're going to be in the future. Now, I'm going to show you here in a couple seconds what the newest legislative session has said about LPRs. I think it's a good move. I still think it's a far cry from what we need. Let's go ahead and keep playing this video here. We're going to get to some actual words of Norris that we need to hear again. I'm going to hit play. You like how I'm commenting, letting you know what I'm going to do?
Well, you have to, because otherwise, it's, Oh,
again,
there's more.
These are more. I mean,
Ed DePriest was picking up. Wow, he's all over the place, from Ventura County to the San Fernando Valley to the Inland Empire to the South Bay.
Well, this was during the time that he actually ran, from my understanding, a security guard company. He was actually a security guard after he left the Baca Tanaka, administration.
And somebody wants to know, explain how you can have two plates from two different states.
Well, they're not two different plates. What I believe that you're seeing is you probably saw the initial licensing of the vehicle with the state issued plate. And that's just a random plate, whatever random sequence of numbers and letters that you get. K is in Idaho, Kootenai County. But the one where it's like 887 or 997, now I don't remember. I'm not going to go back. But that 3-digit, that's a customized plate is my belief. And so at some point he changed that plate. But these LPRs, if you dive into it, you find out that these software companies that we were just looking at provide this information to people that have a need to know basis. Now, I warned people about this a year ago when I actually read through the legislation that was put before the legislators back last year in Idaho in 2024 session, as well as Motorola. The Motorola company says that it sells the data to people that need it. So it can be repo companies, insurance companies. They want to see this data. And yes, folks, they claim that it's secure. But last week, we showed you why groups like Palantir through Foundry and through Gotham can actually say, yeah, your data is secure, but we're actually extracting it and copying it while it's sitting on your server so you can say that you're in control. But back to, why did we have this intel? It was legally obtained. Now, the question is, how do you feel about that? How do you know whether or not your data is being leaked to third parties? And does that matter to you when it comes to law enforcement? Look, we know that, I mean, some of these shots I didn't get into are obvious that they came from Ring cameras. Do you folks understand that there is a push and there is a consolidation? There's an integration with groups like Ring cameras that will, whether you know it or not, they can involuntarily, by you, submit photos and live streams to third parties. You got to check your privacy settings on these devices. But the sheriff's office, the sheriff is supposed to protect everybody's constitutionally protected rights, life, liberty, property, first and last line of defense for the people. You could say, well, cell phones are doing it. It's happening when we go into parking lots at Walmart, everywhere. So who cares? Well, you should care because it's the sheriff's office. The sheriff is pulling thousands of plates per month. In fact, in the entire Spokane region last year, over 4 million plates per month were logged in these LPRs. Norris says that your data is safe. We're going to show you why I don't believe that is true. We're going to keep playing the video here. But there's been a couple studies. International Association of Chiefs of Police, they did a survey on the use of LPRs, and in the conclusion of their findings, and I don't know if we're playing that. It doesn't seem to be playing. There we go. Sorry, folks. The study that you can readily find online basically says, look, we did a survey, and there is no conclusive evidence.
Invited members of the community.
There's no conclusive evidence that LPRs reduce or what is the word? Deter crime. Let me say that again. Study by the International Association of Chiefs of Police that put this survey out to all sorts of law enforcement agencies, domestic law enforcement agencies across the country, surveyed. And during the survey, they determined that policies were all over the place. Half of them didn't even know how they were storing the data. They didn't know who they were sharing the data with. Many of them weren't even officially trained. But at the conclusion of the study, and the National Institute of Justice also put out a study, these cameras do not reduce crime and they don't deter crime. So why is the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office trying to convince you, the public, that they need them so bad? Well, we're going to listen to Bob Norris and his plea. Hey, county commissioners, I know you said you're unfunding me and these LPRs, but you know what? We need them. And I'm going to tell you, commissioners, why you need to reconsider that. Let's go ahead and play the rest of this video. You guys can hear Bob Norris in his own words.
I'm going to hit play again.
Community to come so they could hear the real facts about the ALPR, not the misinformation that was out in the community by certain individuals or groups. So I'd like this system. It absolutely, since we've been able to play with it, it monitors every keystroke that gets put into that system. Every single one. So our auditing, our verification that this system is not being abused is 100% present. And I'd like a reconsideration on that. I did talk to Commissioner Eberline. He is very supportive of officer safety. And I have assured him that, and all the voters of this county, that this will only be used for crime fighting and officer safety purposes only.
And officer safety, crime fighting, and officer safety. Bob Norris, the actual studies say otherwise. I want all of you in Kootenai County that are on the fence, and some of you that I've listened to, some of you that are elected officials that came up to me this week and said, you know what? If it just saves one life, then it's worth it. But there are no studies that prove that this system does anything to prevent crime. What it does is it helps create an eventual police state, an all surveillance state. Now, I'm going to play a few more things here. The legislature recently, this year, passed Senate Bill 1180. See if I can go back on it a little bit right there. We'll put it on pause. And here's what they said about it. They said that they amended the existing law to include now how LPRs are to be used. And they said that they can only be used for official law enforcement duties. So one would think that they can no longer be used for third parties, insurance companies, or other groups that have these LPRs and could sell the data. So it's a little bit vague, this law. It was written by and passed, introduced by Doug Akunowitz, senator from up here in North Idaho. It goes on to say that it can only be used to investigate misdemeanors and felonies and look for missing persons. But I don't quite understand. This is why I don't get it when it comes to talking about the overall language of this bill and why I think it needs work. What do license plate readers do? Well, Bob Norris claims that they run all the time so that they can find out if there's anybody that is, on the loose, that is wanted. If they can find murder suspects, if they can find trafficked individuals. And, I find it hilarious that you got this guy that will sell you a big line of bullshit and you guys believe him. Where the hell are the county commissioners, Eberline and Duncan? Look, Matari's a lost cause. He and Norris are like that. They've got a goal for the county. But look, there is no good reason to have these license plate readers. None. As I was told by a local elected official, hey, if it saves one life, if it catches somebody that is wanted from Western Washington, or somebody's loved one is kidnapped, and we catch it. I mean, look, we're not going to get into all the theatrics today as to why that's just plain ludicrous. He said it'll be worth it. My argument to him is this: look, this country was founded on the protections of the individual. That means that sometimes bad things happen despite our best efforts, but we never trade our dangerous liberty for any kind of certain security. And if you want to go to the extreme where you want to be protected, then let's get rid of the Fourth Amendment, because after all, law enforcement could do, I was a law enforcement officer. I could do so many more arrests if I were only able to violate people's, rights, not have to get a warrant, not have to, get consent to search their vehicles. Anyway.
Respond to this one, because the largest pushback on social media because you got two sides of the fence. People going, you don't want a police state, we don't want this. And so they're pushing back on what Norris is trying to do. And then there's the other school of thought. And I'm pretty certain majority of the time these people are very well-meaning, but they say, hey, if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have anything to hide, so I'm fine with it.
That's violation of the basic liberty that your founders, your forefathers fought to give you. We don't operate in this country, as Chris Ann Hall said last week. We don't operate as in this idea that because we're innocent, therefore that we allow the government to do whatever the government wants. No. You're sovereign. If somebody has something against you, they want to bring something against you, a crime, if they want to get into your business and suspend your right. Look, when you have a Fourth Amendment seizure, what does that mean? Hey, you're not free to go. You're under arrest. That's a seizure. You understand that, right? When you get somebody that comes into your house with a warrant and they search and take things from your house, that is a seizure. We don't cotton to people butting into our business here in this country without having to go through a pretty long gauntlet in order to be able to righteously, the way the founders said, without a warrant, nobody shall be searched or their possessions, person, places, or effects seized. So no, I reject that. That is a stupid, and you if you say that and you don't retract it, you don't deserve the liberty that you currently have, and you've lived an extremely selfish life with probably zero consequences, or you're a slave already and you just don't know it. Once liberty is lost, it is not easily regained. I urge those of you in Kootenai County, whether you think it's negligible, not a big deal, we've talked about all the other scenarios that are going along with the LPRs, the salesman for the software package that is also one of the volunteer pilots for the Kootenai Regional Air Support Unit, Able One, pay-to-play schemes going on. But let's talk about from a constitutional standpoint. Had I been sheriff, I would immediately stop the LPR program and it would never surface while I was in office. Your rights to privacy are so sacred. Don't listen to anything they're telling you. If a politician right now or an elected official or chief of police or a sheriff or a deputy or anybody tells you your data is secure, we've shown videos, many videos over the past several months showing how those cameras can get hacked, how they've had to issue patches, how many times Motorola has been sued down in California because of false reads or data breaches. You want to call yourself conservative? You want to call yourself liberty-minded, follower of the Constitution? Then start demanding your elected officials govern at the consent. The consent should be, hell no, we're not allowing you to invade our privacy. We've gone through enough things since COVID to start pushing back. What are you going to do? Is it so hard for you to get off your ass and to go meet with your county commissioner? Is it so hard to write an email or to make a phone call? Some of you are doing it. I'm proud that you are, but many of you are just sitting there and you're too interested in state politics and, national stuff. Go Trump, rah, rah, rah. They're taking over DC, rah, rah, rah. Against the Constitution, by the way. But you don't give a damn about what's happening in your own backyard. Enough to say about the LPRs. I wanted to talk about being vindicated over the Able One that was recently grounded. Mm-hmm. I don't think we have enough time tonight to do that, to give it good enough. Said it. We were vindicated.
Give me the 20-second version.
We're going to come back and we're going to do this segment because we already put the segment together.
Yeah.
But folks, Coeur d'Alene Press, last Friday, helicopter is grounded. We listened to the pre-meeting before the county commissioners when they met with the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office and had a discussion about what they were going to discuss in executive session. I've got many FOIA requests in looking for emails, but we do know, and these are the quick cliff notes, lack of liability insurance, lack of workers' comp. The helicopter was not apparently registered correctly with the FAA. So there's many things that we can be vindicated on because we have the proof. We were on top of this a long time ago. All of you deniers, Aaron and Doreen and Shelly and all you bootlickers out there.
Stephanie Fetzer and Kelly Broderick.
Yeah. They kind of remind me of each other, Kelly and Stephanie.
Sort of weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're going to talk about that next week. But
the reason it's important to pay attention to that is the conversation about the helicopters are imminent, like they're ongoing in those commissioner meetings. And for budget approvals and pushing programs forward, it doesn't require a vote on something like this. Same as with the LPRs, doesn't require a vote by Kootenai County residents. All what you're doing is you're asking permission from the commissioners. They're saying to argue your case, and then they're like, I. And it seems like there's a lot of monkey business going on there. But that's why staying on top, paying attention to this conversation about the helicopter, it's more than just, hey, we need this as a service to the community. Yeah. It's where and how it got started in the first place, that it was a botched up program from the get-go.
Because Bob was giving favors to his big donors and to the tribe that wanted to take over primary law enforcement for both tribal and non-tribal members on tribal lands. Lots of that. We're going to talk about that next week. I don't want to talk about it and say we're not going to talk about it and then go back and talk about it. But
no, it's just that I'm giving the reason that you want to pay attention to it because it was a botched up program from the beginning. Bob Norris has never been held accountable, and he's right back there in a seat in front of the commissioners, pushing it through, saying, okay, never mind. We've fixed all of the issues. And still it's like there's with zero penalty. You proved that the issues were there. You were right.
I've called Norris. You're a liar, Norris. You can say all you want to, but I'll meet you anytime, any place in front of God and everybody on this live stream and whoever watches it on the replays. I will sit down at anybody's invitation and I'll go mano a mano and argue all the points on the helicopter. And I've got the proof. I've got the records, Bob Norris, and I got the records on the ALPRs, Bob Norris. We're not going to be snowballed. You're not going to be allowed to get by with your lying, with your projecting, with your untruthfulness, with your lack of integrity. So I'm looking forward to talking about that next week.
Yeah, sounds good. We're coming up. It is time for the Bureau of Bootlickers segment, and leading into that, it's just perfect. Ed DePriest says, "I wonder if Broderick, it's an account on Facebook, Kelly Broderick. I wonder if it's an actual person or it's really a fake profile of the propaganda group." Well, we do know it's a burner profile. It's a burner profile that I successfully got banned from the Ladies of Liberty group because I said, "Hey, if nobody can verify the identity of this person, this could be a dude." And that is off limits, restricted in the Ladies of Liberty group. They could not verify their identity, so they were ejected from the group. Wow. Anyway, folks, now it's time for...
Welcome to the Bureau of Bootlickers, where we expose Kootenai County's most loyal lapdogs. Those who defend corrupt leaders, twist every argument, and attack anyone who dares challenge the status quo. These aren't just trolls. They're the foot soldiers of political power, doing the dirty work for the elite. If you've ever wondered who's really keeping bad leaders in office, look no further. We name names, show receipts, and shine a light on the bootlicking brigade. Ready? Let's drag them into the daylight.
Are we ready? Hey, folks, you will not believe this.
Oh, what?
I have a very special segment for a very deserving individual. His name's Todd. In fact, I think we're going to play a little video of Todd. But at the last minute, he sent me an email today. Go ahead and play it.
Gotta remember.
So this is Todd. Todd has been an annoyance on Twitter for several months. He was really upset that I was standing up for Teresa Bornpole, and then I talked with Dan Gookin. He said some extremely not nice things. I've been extremely nice to him for several months, even though he calls me a gay porn star looking dude with my tight jeans and my cowboy hat.
That's messed up.
Tells me that I'm a retard, all because I'm standing up for liberty.
And you never were mean. You didn't You didn't pick a fight with him on the
But
internet.
this all changed this week because he called a state representative honey buns. And so we started going back, and I finally said, okay, safety's coming off. We're going to have a discussion. Now, we challenged him to come on our show since he wanted to run his mouth. He accepted the challenge. He told me that I had to disclose what my company's name was, and he'd come on the show. We did that. We sent him the link so that he could send us his contact info and have him on the show tonight. And at the last minute, he said, "No, can't do it. My attorney," it's his words, "my attorney won't let me do it. Says I advise against it. You're just going to bully me and so on and so forth." So I was all set tonight to show you all the receipts of what Todd has been saying and what he's doing and why he is an honorary member of the Bureau of Bootlickers. However, right before we went on the air, we got another email from Todd, and Todd was changing his tune. Todd was actually pretty nice.
Yeah, Todd's looking forward to having a cup of coffee, although maybe not now.
No, I'm not sorry for playing it because I want people to understand that there's a side of me that says you push after a certain point, and when it's right, you are going to land a spot. However, there's always redemption because liberty without compromise says you can make amends with people. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take Todd up. Todd, if you're watching, I'm going to take you up on your invitation to meet with you for coffee, and we'll discuss our issues. And then on the conclusion of that, I'll decide whether or not we're going to show the entire segment of Todd's introduction into the Bureau of Bootlickers, or whether or not I'm going to retract it, because I can always do that as well.
Because as a reminder, you did, in fact, have an entire segment prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that Todd, just in the nick time before the program, as if people must watch the program. And so maybe Todd was a little bit afraid that there was going to be fallout. And because the timing seemed to be so.
Look, Todd,
he was making nice.
If there's an opportunity to come together in the cause of liberty, I'll let everything, all the bygones be bygones.
And you mean that this in all seriousness.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you double down, then brother, all bets are off. You are going to become a member of the Bootlickers. So speaking of members, prominent, one of our initiary members, is that the right word, initiary?
No, but
what's the word I want?
I'm not sure.
I can't even think of it. God's homeschooled.
Initial, honorary.
I don't know. I just made up a word.
Okay.
Initiary. I made up a word.
Just keep it.
I want you to
Just
use this
own
word
it.
this week.
Own
Initiary.
it, Wilson.
Keith Bowe. We talked about Keith last week. Keith is a individual that likes to, be loud for Jesus, but he also likes to
he was kind of the
talk about sexual things about people.
Keith Bowe is the tip of the spear.
Yeah,
he's the tip of the
Have you ever noticed one of these things? And we're gonna conclude by this. The next day after we aired Keith's special segment on Liberty Without Compromise, episode 31. What did Todd, or not Todd? What did Keith say?
Oh, yeah.
Keith responded pretty quickly.
Yeah, he said he stands by everything he said.
Yeah. So Keith,
I don't know if I have the screenshot.
We expose you for the vile individual who claims the name of Christ, but you're a vile individual.
He thanked us for dedicating the Bureau of Bootlickers segment to him and exposing his extremely bad behavior. Yeah. And later that same night, he said, "Thanks. I stand by everything I said."
So I'm curious as to why so many of these guys, and they're all very similar. They all make homosexual accusations against me.
Mm-hmm.
It happens a lot. I'm always called gay or gay porn star.
Yep.
There's a fixation on it. But one thing that I've noticed about all these guys?
Yeah, what?
Every last one of them, including Todd, unless Todd decides that he's going to retract it, they're all the same. They're all fat, out of shape, bald individuals. I said it. Whether it's Keith, fat and bald, undisciplined, Ryan Skaggs, whether
they're all bald.
Yeah, they're all bald.
You're bald.
Well, going bald, huh?
You're bald.
Well, I'm just telling the people what the makeup is.
Oh, the profile. You're profiling.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know if it has something to do with that or not. But anyway,
what?
I challenge anybody to come on if you want to debate. You have an open invitation, and we'll talk about Jesus all day long. I think you're full of shit, Keith. I think you're full of shit. And I think that when it comes to knowing the Bible, I think you're a fluff Christian, because I listened to you on that broadcast and you talked all about yourself and you used the Joel Osteen word. So enough said about that.
Well, I was almost enough said about it. I was to chime in from the female perspective, because I remain quiet on this a lot of time. Mind you, I'm the one rifling through and having to manage and reading. And look, we're all humans here. Yeah. So for me to have to read the comments and they're saying, gay, sore loser, go home, get over yourself, you abusive, narcissistic piece of...
Kind of like Lauren.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I'm reading those.
Yeah.
And I mean, you got a couple of choices. You can't say, well, your knee jerk isn't to be like, man, that's messed up. That hurts, or I want to feel defensive of you. Mm-hmm. But then it comes right back down to, okay, level head. Let's think about this, because you're exactly right. Every single one of these guys, and I'm saying this from the female perspective, is exactly what Dan said. You're fat, not a shape. And so if I was gonna come in and then, next thing we're gonna hear is you should be careful because everybody's fighting something you don't know. And
when you open your mouth and you are abusive and you're going to run your mouth, then it's all fair game.
Otherwise, nobody's talking about the physical appearances, but you're taking pot shots at him. And I'm like, bro, look in the mirror. Yeah. Look in the mirror. That's all. It kind of seems to me like the old school, and it's dumb to play these games. But like when your mom told you, honey, it's honey, it's okay.
Well, they do it to Dan Gookin.
They're just jealous.
They do it to Dan Gookin.
Highly intelligent, highly successful.
Look at Lauren. Lauren is definitely obese. Mm-hmm. Rogue Lou that we talked about is obese.
And has made comments on other people's physical, has been degrading about other people's physical appearance, and the amount of maturity it takes to just not fire back and say, why do we care? Yeah. Because
we love calling out all you hypocrites. Far too long, many of you have run your mouths. You've caused dissension in local communities. You say what you say, and I'm just not going to put up with it. Now, I can't get all of you, but when you pique my interest, as we've already claimed or disclosed earlier, you're going to get it. And I'll take every last one of you wants to come on this show anytime. Open invitation. I'll debate you anytime, any place. You just have to come on. So.
Open invitation.
Open invitation.
The invite link is easy to send. We can even do it mid-show. If one of you musters up the strength halfway through, we still got you. Mm-hmm. You can come on and argue your point, state your position. We'll be respectful. We got you.
Now, let's talk for our closing segment.
All right.
About social media and Sharia law.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a video that's going around right now in Idaho about an event that took place in a park in Boise, where and this is the only clip I've ever seen. So I'm only going off the context that I have been told. The video that we're going to show was off of Representative Nichols' Instagram, but it shows this park of a dozen plus, probably more, burqa-clad individuals. Don't know if they're women, don't know if they're men. And some loud music and what sounds like a call to prayer being played. And there's a lot of people that are upset. We're going to go ahead and show this video, and then I'm going to explain to you why parchment barriers can be a very, very dangerous thing. So let's go ahead and watch this video.
I'm just going to take that back.
We'll keep that rolling here for a second. Mm-hmm. So I started looking at X, and I started looking at Instagram and the comments specifically. And we're going to have a discussion right now about liberty and about why the parchment barrier thing is very real and the two ways that it can go. What am I referring to? Well, the parchment barrier is the Constitution. Constitution is a bunch of words written on a paper close to 250 years ago. Close. Now, the comments that I see is we need to stop this right now. We need to shut this down. We can't allow these people to be marching like this. They hate Americans. They want Sharia law. We have to kick them out right now. Look, I've been paying attention for the past 20 plus years when most of us kind of got a reacquaintance to the religion of Islam. We saw some extremely heinous, horrible things take place. Not minimizing any of that. We see what's happened in Minneapolis, Dearborn, Michigan. We know that it is not good. We see what's going on in Great Britain. My good friend, John Wooten, former Brit, that's now an American, highly skilled individual, lives down near Boise. He and I talk about this quite often. Great Britain has fallen. They are being taken over by radical Islam all over the entire country. In fact, most of Europe for that matter. But people are concerned, and I see guys that call themselves patriots. We need to shut this down. We need to take matters into our own hands right now. And I ask them, how do you do that constitutionally? Not saying that I don't understand your anger and your concern. And I met with these big, long dissertations. You're naive. You want to protect those that want to destroy us, and on and on and on it goes just because I'm asking a question. How do you do this? Last I checked, we live in a constitutional republic, and we are living, what? In the rule of law we're supposed to be. Although I'm going to say a small side note again, Trump taking over D.C., all my good friends that love Trump, even your justification, not constitutional. That's Congress's responsibility, regardless if Congress is inept. You start talking about taking over cities like New York and other lawless areas, be careful. Now, back to these passionate individuals, and maybe you're one of these passionate individuals. You do not want our country to mirror the UK. You don't want Idaho to mirror Minneapolis, Michigan, so on and so forth. And you want to do something right now, and you're so adamant that you people need to start doing what? So I ask the questions. And it's interesting the responses I get. I asked a guy today, is the Constitution as powerful today as it was 250 years ago? Response was, from one example, that it's not as powerful.
Okay, so he was being honest.
He was
in
a
his
vet.
Opinion.
Vet, good guy. Again, just because we have disagreements online doesn't mean that I think any of you are bad people or beneath me or whatever, or an enemy. Okay. Your argument is that the Constitution is less powerful today than it was. What do you think? What would you say?
I believe that from a lot of people's perspective, and it could even be the large majority at this point, that they do believe it holds less power. They believe it's somehow an antiquated document that the founding fathers could not possibly have foreseen the things that we're up against now. And so it just doesn't encompass what we're dealing with
now
as
we're
a
getting
society
into
and a
Woodrow
nation
Wilson
now.
And John doing that argument, right? You're right. But here's where I believe that that's a fatally flawed perspective. Patriots, listen to me. The Constitution is just a document. It's just a parchment of paper with a bunch of words written on it. There is no strength in paper. The real strength of the Constitution is the same right now as it was all those years ago. It is those that swore fidelity, an oath to uphold and to defend our constitutional republic, our constitution, our Bill of Rights. It is no more less powerful today or weakened than it was when it was penned and ratified by the states back in the day. What has weakened is men who refused to live up to their oath, that refuse to do the hard things, to study the founders, to truly understand the Constitution. We have Idaho legislators right now that are claiming that they are super conservative right wing, which is almost now a religion, who obviously have not read the arguments of the founders. Because if they had, they wouldn't be introducing some of the legislation that they're doing. They wouldn't be doing some of the things that they are doing socially and in their groups. You want to make certain that we don't turn into a Dearborn or a Minneapolis? It's very simple. You don't take the law into your own hands. One of the guys said, well, they should be a terror. They should be called a terrorist, a group. Okay, well, who calls anybody a terrorist organization? Who has the power to do that? And we went down the line. That document that was written so many years ago guaranteed the individual's rights to life, liberty, and property. The right to say that the very things that you want to say, even when it is so egregious and offensive to others, Lauren and Dave Riley, that we allow you to say it. In spite of the fact that you say it, even more so to protect your right. Your right to protect yourself, to bear arms. Your right to be secure in your person, in your places and effects. The right to not self-incriminate yourself. The right to a speedy trial. The right to be, again, secure and own your property. If you want to ensure that our constitutional republic does not follow any religion, which includes state-sponsored Christianity, coming from a person that loves Jesus Christ, and he's the center of my world, and I want everybody to know Christ, our founders put that bulkhead in and said, the states, the government, the federal government, the states, the local, we are not going to allow any government to force others into a certain belief. You have to elect people that are going to get in and hold the line constitutionally and not allow lawlessness. Make no mistake, what is going on right now in Minneapolis, Michigan, and other places around the country is lawlessness. There is only one law in this country, in this constitutional republic, and every branch down from the Constitution, the states, the local counties and the cities all follow the same supreme law of the land, which is the United States Constitution. But the reason why the lawlessness has prevailed is because, let's be real clear, many of you that are watching this and your friends and your neighbors, you're too damn lazy. Many of you don't even know you're lazy. You just grew up thinking, hey, this is the way the system works and, it's a good thing. Let me ask you, after COVID, when we saw the tyranny take place not only at a national level, but a state and a local, yes, it happened right here in Kootenai County. How many people that were involved in violating people's rights, even under the guise of a health emergency, how many of those people were removed from office? I don't know any in Kootenai County. I don't know any in Spokane County. You guys get the government that you allow. At the consent of the governed is how we're supposed to operate. So don't take the law into your own hands. Don't recreate these exceptional techniques on how to deal with those that, and again, I don't know that this instance of this protest that was down, I don't know any of the background. Maybe they were pushing for Sharia law, but the Constitution doesn't allow for dual governments to operate. Once you take the law into your own hands, This is why I'm really, really cautious with militias. Once you take the law into your own hands and you break the rule of law, very rarely do you get it back in the same condition when it's restored. When due process is circumvented, the very thing that makes us who we are as Americans becomes worthless because parchment barriers. I've got a slide I want to put up. And I want to encourage you because the founders understood the eventual predicament that we are going to find ourselves in. James Madison had a very good argument in Federalist Papers. And I think I sent you that one last slide picture. Mm-hmm. And he talks about the necessity to separate things. And here's what Madison says. Although in the Federalist Papers, I think this was Federalist 43. If you can pull that comment down, I can't read my screen. Thank you. Will it be sufficient to mark with precision the boundaries of these departments in the Constitution of the government and to trust these parchment barriers against the encroaching spirit of power? This is the security which appears to have been principally relied on by the compliers of the most of the American Constitution. But experience assures us that in the efficacy of the provision has been greatly overrated and that some more adequate defense is indispensably necessary for the more feeble against the more powerful members of the government. The legislative department is everywhere extending the spear of activity and drawing all the powers into its impetus vortex. The founders understood that government eventually was going to take way too much power and that those things written on paper were going to be meaningless if the men, and I use that to describe women as well, men do not stand up for their government to protect their rights, to uphold that Constitution with their lives and their fortunes and their sacred honor. Government will eventually take it. And by the way, that government can be Sharia law. It can also be, churches that are south of here. People that have extremely unbiblically based Christianity views.
Well, and I know we're wrapping up here, but Ed had a good question earlier. Do biblical values supersede constitutional rights?
That's an individual argument, Ed. And I think you probably know this, but let's vet that out. If you are a Christian, and I'm just going to talk from a Christian standpoint, okay? Follower of Christ, we live in two worlds. My very first dedication above all else, and I know that I pissed people off on the campaign trail, pissed off a local Masonic leader when I said, I swear allegiance to Jesus Christ, my family, and my government last. What did I say? Yeah. Probably misquoting. I'm getting tired, but
misquoting yourself.
But in other words,
check that.
Yeah. And here's the fact of the matter. I have to do what my conscience tells me that I have to do under my faith in Jesus Christ. Paul talks about this. But I'm also a American citizen, and I live under the laws of this land. And I have to comply by those laws unless they supersede what my personal beliefs are. And then that's a different conversation. That is civil disobedience in most cases, or you suffer because you won't comply and you suffer whatever comes your way due to that. Jesus Christ, my family, and my community,
your
my
country.
government.
I thought your country.
Yeah, smart.
Coeur.
So Ed, it doesn't matter. If we lived 200 years ago, society was what I would argue more of a Christian dominated society. Most people lived or adhered, whether they were believers or in God or not, lived by what we now call Judeo-Christian values. They were common. And it was common because most of these people came from Europe. But in this great melting pot over time, because the church is impotent, the church in Kootenai County is impotent, and I'll argue this with you all day long, the same as it is impotent all over the country and all over the world. And we don't live in a Christian society anymore. We live in what's known as a post-Christian nation. So it's ridiculous to try to mandate that people that have no belief in God, that have no belief in Jesus Christ, that may not even understand what religion is or is not. Everybody is religious, by the way. Just depends on what your poison is. You can't force people to believe the way you currently do. And the Constitution, as the founder said, was written for a holy, moral, and righteous people because they can self-govern, because they are governed by God. Now you're in a predicament, which means that Muslims can openly pray all around you. They can open up mosques around you. What they can't do is they can't implement Sharia law. If they implement any kind of Sharia law, for example, in your community that is breaking the law, the rule of law must stand, and any lawbreakers must be dealt with. Same with Christian sects. S-E-C-T-S, sects. And I had this argument the other day. Look, there are Mormon factions that still live in compounds and participate in polygamy. It's against the law. We do not allow religions to run our government, but good, righteous people definitely should be in office, especially if they align with your values, because they can continually to vote in legislation that is good and righteous. It's a fine line, because you can't force people to believe as you do, but you do want good, moral, righteous people that are fair to all. I didn't even go to seminary.
Oh.
I read a lot of C.S. Lewis, though.
Trying to think of the big ones back in the day. Where'd my dad go?
Well, he was a Baptist preacher.
They went to the Baptist seminary.
You can't even dance with the Baptists. But anyway.
I appreciate Susie's comment that organized religion is a money-making business.
It really is. It really is. Look, folks, I hope that you are inspired by something you heard today, whether it was with Billy and Shane, whether it was something we talked about with LPRs and Liberty, whether it was even talking about what do you do as a patriot, loves the Constitution, is dealing with competing governments and worldviews, and it's a scary place. Above all, though, I hope that you pursue with vigor, with your being, liberty without compromise. You're not going to perfect it without getting out and debating people, but you have to debate people and not get mad. And many of you out there that are debating, don't get mad. Don't just start lobbing accusations that people are idiots or dumb or whatever. Ask why. Don't believe that somebody's just a conservative because they vote for conservative people. Vote for people that are good people, that understand liberty. They're not your church. So if they do something that you wouldn't do because your church wouldn't do it, separate yourself. Unless it's one of those moral things that you can't cross the line, like murder, like rape. But talk to people all over. Be disciplined. But above all, I want you to remember that we didn't descend from fearful men. We descended from men who understood the times, and they dedicated their lives and their fortunes and their sacred honor. What are you waiting for? Stay strong and of good courage. Jim, we're still praying for you. We're praying for complete healing. Todd, glad to hear that your shoulder is better. Ron, I'm going to see you at the cigar shop soon. Pray for all those that are facing all kinds of persecution and turmoil. Pray for your brothers and sisters in the faith throughout the world. God bless you all. You got anything to wrap us out with?
I'm going to say, the biggest thing that kills honest debate and good conversation is lack of curiosity. When somebody's throwing darts, throwing barbs, name calling, they have zero natural curiosity to actually understand your point of view. You can ask genuine why questions. You can give people pushback if they have a certain belief that you don't agree with. Like, have genuine curiosity to find out why. Arguments don't come out of that. Name calling doesn't come out of that. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast. You can visit our website to watch past episodes and view exclusive reports on the Kootenai County political power players and the Bureau of Bootlickers. That's at libertywithoutcompromise.com. For our podcast, you can listen and subscribe wherever you get your shows. Also, remember, you can buy apparel right there on the Liberty Without Compromise website. When you've been inspired by this message, you can put on the hat, go outside, and that's an easy way that you can share that with friends, because they'll say, hey, where'd you get that hat? Right there on our website, libertywithoutcompromise.com. Don't forget to subscribe on all the social channels. YouTube, all those archived live stream episodes are there. That's at the Idaho Sheriff. We broadcast live to that channel. Remember to like and follow the Liberty Without Compromise Facebook page. Many of you found us through the Idaho Sheriff Facebook page and the campaign. Right now, we want you to like and follow the Liberty Without Compromise Facebook page, because moving forward, that's always where we're going to be, no matter what happens.
Somebody asked me, Todd asked me,
yeah,
who are you the sheriff of again? And I said, I'm the sheriff of Common Sense County.
The sheriff of Common Sense.
You should come visit sometime, because we're always looking for good deputies.
Oh, one more thing. Ed DePriest said that James Madison looks like Phil Collins, and then I couldn't unsee it. I can feel it coming in the air. I couldn't unsee it. Thanks, Ed. Go back and look.
Special thanks to our haters. You made this whole thing possible. Paul Van Noy, Tim Remington, Brent Reagan, Aaron Barnard.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next week.
Catherine. Stephanie. So many of you. Bev. Materi. Norris.
Shaw.
Special thanks
Shad. Send me Shad. Okay, we're out of here.